Hey everybody, it's me, Angel Benton, and it is time for another edition of Angel Sudsy Recap, where we dud, that is what I'm calling this video, the dud. Let's start it over. Hi everybody, it's me, Angel Benton, and it's time for another edition of Angel Sudsy Recap, where we delve into the world of daytime television and do a few reality shows on the side. And one of the reality shows that we do is Below Deck Med. Okay, so on this episode of Below Deck Med, first of all, they had they had some pornography people on the boat. Now, there were mostly people involved in the straight pornography world, so it's not, but they were still the sweetest, nicest, best guests ever. I mean, they really were, because towards the end of the episode, there was some issues with the anchor, and the anchor coming up out of the water, and they can't pull into a dock without having their anchors in. So they had to get that fixed, and they worked on that for literally like 8.5 hours, and the guests had to be back. Now, so about like a couple hours into it, they got a taxi, and the guests departed on the taxi, and they didn't end up actually like going off onto the deck, like onto the dock like they normally do. But still, they left a nice tip for everyone, and they had nice things to say about absolutely everyone. So yeah, there was a lot of boobs and a lot of ass and a lot of vagina everywhere. But you know what? I'm just saying, it's kind of like on the regular Below Deck, maybe 3 seasons ago, when Kate, this is the one where Kate Chastain said, I'm used to working service for Leonardo DiCaprio, not for Snooki and her escort friends. Well, they ended up leaving them the biggest tip of that season. So it just goes to show, you never know. And don't judge a book by its cover. That's actually the biggest one, because some people might think, oh, they're pornography people. Ugh. Not true. And in fact, I would love to see them get some gay pornography people on there, because that would be a fun boat. It really would. I've actually been trying to get some people that I know to be charter guests on Below Deck, and no one is answering my telephone calls. What a big surprise. If I was Brandon Baker, they would be like, oh yeah, let's do it. Yeah. And of course, Brandon would be able to have the time to go do it with them. Yeah, I can't get that much time off of work, so that's annoying, but whatever. It is what it is. That was kind of one of the main plots of this week's episode. Another sort of main plot was Lauren. Okay, so Lauren is having issues with Bobby, but Bobby's kind of over it. Bobby hasn't really talked about Lauren. He made up with Hannah this week. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't, I jumped to conclusions. And it's good that he said that, because it's true. He was being a total asshole, and he was totally way off in left field. It's like, honey, where is this coming from, right? So that's why she's like, that's why I was so upset, because I didn't know what you were talking about at all, because I've never talked shit about you to her ever. She said you were there with 2 other girls, and I said, yeah, that's kind of that's kind of a slack thing to do, which is Australian for he's being a douchebag. So he made up with Hannah, and he was, over it, really. But Lauren was like, she was so upset, and she was really going on and on. Meanwhile, Bugsy, who just lost her grandmother, and see, I'm not upset about, last week it was really sad, because I felt for her. I was just in her shoes last year, right? I miss my grandmother every day. But, so I know what she was going through, and she was going through a lot. And I guess that really touched me. Maybe I was hormonal and I was a little bit tipsy, but the point was, she's working through it. There were still some residual effects of that this week, but she is very, I don't want to say, well, she's got a little bit of that British influence, but she's from South Africa, where, the whole keep a stiff upper lip. I can't speak at all today. You know what? You know what? You know who I make fun of all the time for butchering the English language? Ramona from Housewives of New York. And that's totally what I'm giving you right now. I'm giving you total Ramona with the way that I keep fucking shit up in terms of my speech. And I have had one drink. I had one Mai Tai, but that was at lunch. So that was a good, I don't know, 8 hours ago. So I think that's pretty much worked its way out of my system. I'm just saying. Anyways, so that was a big deal. Lauren was making such a big deal. This is how the chain reaction happens. Lauren is having such a difficult time with the situation with Bobby that she doesn't want to speak to anyone or any of the guests or the crew, or she just wants to stay down on below deck and do her work below deck, right? So at dinner time, that creates sort of a problem because she's a stewardess. So Hannah tells Bugsy, "Why don't you do the staterooms? I'll talk to Wes and see if we can get Malia to help us on the interior. And then once she's done with dinner service, she doesn't have to do any cleaning up or anything, but when she's done with dinner service, she can go do her anchor watch because she was scheduled for anchor watch that night." So, Wes said that's fine. They did that. But here's what happened. Because she was on anchor watch and the anchor, didn't snap or anything, but she didn't notice that the boat was slowly spinning and there was far too much slack given to the anchors, so the anchors were then getting twisted up underneath the boat. And on the one hand, you might say, well, that's Malia's fault, but it kind of wasn't. And then you might say, oh, well, that's Hannah's fault for pulling Malia. No, first you would say, oh, well, then that's Wes's fault for letting Malia go. I wouldn't, because Hannah asked. And then you say, oh, well, then it's Hannah's fault. No, it really is Lauren's fault, because she couldn't suck it up and be around people. That's really, you know what I'm saying? Like, there have been moments in my job where I have not wanted to go hang out with customers. Actually, you know what? When my grandma died, I was in Philadelphia at a casino. And I found out she died, and I was devastated. But I knew I had one more day I had to finish up before I could take off. I couldn't just leave in the middle of a project. So I stayed and finished the project, and then I left. And I didn't do that for anybody to notice. I just did it because that is the job. You do your job, and then you take care of your personal business. So then that's when I took my bereavement time. And I was there for her funeral. And, Bugsy was like, I could leave at any time. She knows that she can go home. And Hannah's told her, I love having you here. But if you need to go, just know it's all good. No one's going to think any ill of you if you decide you need to go to the funeral. So that's nice. And Bugs was like, I'm the most concerned about my mom because, they were very close. And I didn't really have that issue with my grandma, but it was hard not being there when it happened. Because the year before, she had a health scare with her heart. I'm talking about me. Now we're going back into my life here. My grandma had a health scare with her heart, and I really wanted to be there in the hospital with her. Because she was in the hospital for quite some time. And I wanted to be there with her. And I couldn't get the time off from work. They wouldn't let me go. And that sucks. But, when she went, they had no choice. I had bereavement time and I used it. Right? So it was very devastating, and she made it through that health scare. She had a heart scare, and she made it through that. And she had a lot of visitors. And, of course, because she's Miss Popular, everyone on her floor loved her to death. And, she loved all the male nurses. It was so funny because she actually kind of reminds me of me when I was in the hospital. But it was really sweet. So I was very grateful. Because then when I did actually end up getting out there to Oklahoma, where she was, when I ended up getting out there, I got her a nice hotel room, and just so that just to say, I'm sorry I wasn't there, but let's get a hotel room, and let's have let's have sleepovers and do all kinds of fun things together. We could watch Golden Girls, or eat cheesecake, whatever you want, right? And she loved it. She had the best time, and it was so awesome. So I'm very grateful for that. Anyway, so that was kind of weird, because normally I do the host chat at the beginning of the show, but this time I started off right with Below Deck Med, and then I kind of segued into host chat. So, whatever. Anyways, thank you so much for logging on today. I do appreciate it. Please feel free to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Angel Benton. You can hashtag Below Deck Med to talk Below Deck Med, or you can hashtag days to talk days of our lives, because that's what I'm going to be doing next. So thank you. Oh, and you can please feel free to hit that little subscribe button on your YouTube. Thank you so much for logging on today, everyone. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful night. Peace out. Wubba, wubba, wubba.